I'll try to be sharp in time. For those who are from this title are expecting very much data and results on increased multimodality, I must disappoint in advance because I would rather like to present our mindset and how did we plan and what background we had for this multimodality and how we did step by step from a strategical idea to decrease car traffic to actually some implementation. So as you probably know from my presentation style, I'm representing today a project Cities Multimodal, which was very well presented by Ista and Stefan this morning. And in this project, there are a few huge work packages, which I won't be telling a lot because I was mainly involved into multimodality in city quarters planning and implementing. And that's why I'm bringing an example from Vilnius, which is not good, which is good not because it is example and not because we almost implemented, but probably because of our mindset and our planning system, which I also will present shortly. So after Case and Colin's presentation for me to talk about preconditions for multimodality, intermodality, and all the services which need to be presented, it makes no sense because it was delivered very well and in very good details and examples. But what I would like just to stress before we start talking and planning multimodality and trying to encourage it, that city must be ready to give less tolerance for car drivers. And once city has parking policy, once city has one city is brave enough to go for some parking restrictions and for some parking zones where car traffic is not allowed at all, then city is already step by step getting ready to multimodality and to different mobility. And also the city has to have great, good, easy and safe and secure infrastructure for pedestrians and cyclists, and of course very well developed public transport, which has great priority and could be competitive to the car. And of course it was mentioned already, but for multimodality, one of the also very important and maybe main preconditions is to have a universal platform to connect all modes in one hat, in one application, in one informational stand, in one website, or whatever it takes to get all the possible modes to use in one click, in 1 second. So Vilnius got it all. And moreover, Vilnius got some other good practices to show. And that's why we happened to be part of Project Cities Multimodal, where one of the main measures for encouraging multimodality, mobility points were named. And Vilnius City together with another partner, municipal enterprise, let's say mobility services, but the translation will be a little bit different. So Vilnius is also a partner in this project and was supposed to plan carefully for all it to select places for mobility point one initially, and then to implement it. So my presentation is about to show how did we do everything. First of all, although multimodality by accident happens every day to those who are not using car daily, but who are switching from public transport to bicycle or to shared systems or I don't know, some taxis and so on. So multimodality happens in Vilnius as well. And we have a lot of modes available. We have public transport, which is buses, fast buses and trolley buses. We have, of course, cyclists, we have drivers, we have passengers, we have pedestrians, we have shared systems to operators for cars, few operators for scooters, and of course bicycles to share. And we have overall system connecting all those modes. So background for multimodality is already very good in Vilnius. Moreover, since 2018, we have a sustainable urban mobility plan for Vilnius, which is also step by step going to increase multimodality level in the city. But yet, as you see from our results, which we received through the gamification, which was did in terms also with purpose to get some data, but also to encourage people to use other modes than the car. So already 15% of daily users, they are switching from one mode to another, but we do it by accident with no, for example, they switch from bus to food just because the bus is not taking to the place we need to go, but not because we are thinking about multimodality on purpose and planning it in advance. So our aim and our expectation in this project was to turn multimodality by accident to the multimodality on purpose. And what did we do? First of all, as I said, we had already good background, our sustainable urban mobility plan, and those blue and less blue and orange spots in the map, these are the main points where multimodality is needed because of main exits and entrances to the city, because of main transportation hubs like airport, train station, bus station, because of very crowded public transport routes, because of very intense car traffic and so on. So these places which are good for multimodality were selected already in our sustainable urban mobility plan. And before talking about multimodality, Vilnius already had implemented few park and ride system, one park and ride system with few locations. And that's why for this project, for this pilot project, we chose one of those dedicated areas in Vilnius, which is really good. It's really great chrestomatical place to test everything because it is with dense urbanization. It has a lot of target points like universities, campus, hospitals, shopping centers, and as I said, a lot of residents. And it has main access for transit from those who are coming from the periphery and going to very downtown of Vilnius city. So the pilot area was selected very carefully, and it has all the features to test multimodality. And also it has quite good public transport connections, but with no priority yet, and some other questions to answer before we go to multimodality. So pilot area for testing multimodality was chosen, and then in framework of the project and also with our own objectives and expectations, we prepared sustainable urban mobility plan for city quarter for this designated area which I show. And of course, as we had already a sustainable urban mobility plan for whole city, so we just detailed it in different scale, and we understood that it's not enough to wish to decrease car traffic, but if we think that multimodality is the answer and solution, and mobility points are the main measures, then the main aim of this sustainable urban mobility plan for city quarter is to ensure good accessibility to the mobility point and to assure good exit out when you get to this mobility point, not to have those mobility points in the middle of nowhere. Second thing which we did with this pilot area sump, we clearly indicated our main target groups. And first of all, these are transit travelers, which we want to stop and to move them to the more sustainable mode of transport. Secondly, these are first last mile travelers, because as you probably saw, the area is not that small, and some residents, to get to the public transport station, they need to go like 1.5 kilometers or even 2 kilometers to the public transport, which is not very convenient. especially if you have small kids or so. So that's why those mobility points which we were discussing, they were supposed to serve those first last mile travelers, so they could leave their bike and go to the public transport or to use shared modes and so on. And the last target group in our multimodality, let's say, target was visitors of schools and hospitals, which for those people, mobility point could be as the end point. They just get there and then they continue on foot to the target. Yeah. So as I mentioned it already in one of the first our slides, our first idea was to select and choose a good location for one ambitious and advanced mobility point with a huge parking lot, with delivery room, with good delivery room, with some vending machine, with some resting area, with charging infrastructure, and a lot of features in one slide. Sorry, in one lot. But then when we started going through the layers of main aspects to successfully select mobility point location, and when we named them, which is to be next to the good public transport system, to have possibility to act as an additional service and to be in livable, secure place and to serve as a first last mile solution, then we layered all those requirements for location of our mobility point. We end up that it should be probably not one mobility point, but small of few mobility points as a network. So, but for this, what we need to do, and we started doing in our action plans and implementation plans, for this, we needed to ensure less tolerance to private transport, which means to even enforce a stricter policy for parking and to expand parking zones. Paid parking zones, because most of the area has free of charge parking. Then the second and probably the main measure to as a homework for mobility, for multimodality in this pilot area is priority for public transport. And in this map, you see that red lines only are has dedicated bus lanes for public transport. So we designed to have in all the pilot area transport priority, but moreover, it's very, knowing where people are going, it's very important to ensure this connectivity with existing public transport networks. So also we designed access to the neighborhood districts and to the city center. We did the same with missing lanes in cycling network, so that people can not only go from mobility point by bicycle somewhere, but we also provided solutions how to get to this multimodality points from the residential areas, so that people can do both. They can exit from multimodality point, for example, with a shared bicycle to go by connected and good quality bicycle lanes network to the city center or somewhere else, but we also can be sure about their possibility to arrive to those mobility points. Naming all the other homeworks we need to do in order to believe in our success in multimodality is also to provide mobility as a service system as much as if possible with wide solutions. So we made sure that bicycle operators and shared cars places are designed, and scooters in Vilnius can be left every way you want, but they also can be charged in those mobility points. So in our later technical designs, we made sure that those mobility points, even if they are very relatively small, we can accommodate all the needs of all the modes which can be feasible in this pilot area. And in this way, we started seeing not one mobility point, but 4 already. And also when we analyzed black spots of traffic accidents and also some statistic of security, not only safety. We also suggested some low speed zones and enforcement on speed control in the main street, and other measures to decrease, eliminate car traffic at all, if possible, or as much as possible in this area. So finally, as I said, we got network of mobility points instead of one advanced, and after layering all the preconditions and all the possibilities and all the needs of residents, by the way, we also have a involvement process, I think quite fruitful. Probably word successful is not the proper one, but fruitful, because we met community, we met professionals, we met politicians, we talked to mayor and to vice mayors, and we spent quite a lot of time explaining that multimodality and mobility points is not the same as park and ride, and blah, 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 and about the benefits of those multimodality points and mobility points for the city and for the traffic system and for residents and so on. So we had a lot of discussions, and what I think we achieved through this project, not only the fact that eventually we will have those 2 mobility points, which I will go straightforward to them, but we really did a lot to raise general awareness of audience about multimodality, about the possibility to compete with car for public transport or combination of all the feasible and possible modes. So layering all those preconditions and possibilities, and talking to the people, talking to the stakeholders and to those who actually would be designing and building, we end up with a network of 4 mobility points. And after more thorough analysis of how to get to those points and what to get when you need to exit of mobility points, we end up of priority of 2 first points. Both are next to the river, next to the bridges. Both would be doing great job to connect districts in both banks of the river, and also to serve for those who are going by transit to the city center, and to those who are going to really huge target points and visitors places next to the mobility points. So yes, so from initially one discussed the mobility point as a stopper for transit, we end up with a little bit different concept and definition and understanding what we want to achieve with those mobility points. And yeah, and what we do now, so both mobility points are designed, and now we are in the process of public procurement. What I didn't put into the slides, not to talk too much, but we also in Vilnius, we have common branding for all the let's say public, for all not private modes of transport. So shared systems, public transport, parking restrictions, and bicycles and walking, they all are under one brand. So those mobility points, of course, would be designed with this brand too. But now we are buying those bicycle shelters, sheds for bicycle storage and charging. And also I know that our partners in this project, they are buying locking system and doing all the intellectual software programming things. So yes, we believe that those mobility points will be inaugurated next year already, or maybe by the end of this year, depends on the seasons and on the winter. And then we have some results. Eventually, was it successful multimodality and sustainable mobility approach or not? But I believe it was successful. Yeah. So thank you.
Excellent. Great. I love Vilnius and I love mobility points. And I think yes. And I have immediate and I have an immediate question. Any plans for expanding, like mobility point system all over Vilnius, or?
So plans are to replicate this. Now it's very small network of 4 mobility points, and in a framework of this project, we are implementing 2. But the next plan is, of course, to have another 2, so to have a network of small mobility points in one pilot area. And if it's successful, we believe that we can approach mayors and decision makers again to replicate it in other places. But yeah, you know how things happen. We are planning, and everything's
of course. Yes, thank you very much once again. Okay,
Thank you.
and see you tomorrow. Thank you.